A warm welcoming. We are the Ngos Group. In this presentation, we'll be discussing different views on gender. Firstly, I would like us to look at the collage right behind me, which depicts a male and a female and addresses what our group will be presenting about. Firstly, before I go any further, I would like to look at the basics of sociology and gender. Sociology is the study of human behavior and how the society influences our behavior. According to Darkham 1982, states that it involves social factors such as ideas, feelings, and ways of behaving. Gender, on the other hand, is defined as a state of being male or female, used in reference of social and cultural differences rather than biological one. On stage, we'll be having a question and answer session, whereby we'll be addressing different views of theories on gender. We will look at the sociologist's view, the functionalist, the conflict theorist's view on gender, and then the critics of this view. I would like on stage to welcome Sam and Gulem, who will be discussing the sociologist's view on gender. I would like to firstly pose the first question to Gulem and the second question to Sam. Sam, what is the view of sociologists on gender? And Gulem, what are the different types of genders? And also give relevant examples.
Thank you for the opportunity. As I'm standing here, I'm going to define gender in sociology. There is a difference between gender and sex. Sex are biologically qualities that society used to assign people into the category of either men or female. When people talk about differences between men and women, they often drawing on sex, while as gender is not dependent on biological qualities, but it's learned through social roles or signs to your biological sex. More specifically, it is a concept that describes how societies determine and meaning sex category, the cultural meaning attached to men and women roles, and how individually understand their identities. The sociology of gender examines how society influence our understanding and expectations of different masculinity and femininity. Gender happens when you learn the attitude and the expectation in society setting are associated with your sex. So typically, if you are male, you will be socialized to be masculinity. And if you are female, you will be also socialized as to be a femininity. Thank you. I'll give the chance to Nonkululeko to list and discuss the examples of gender. Thank you.
With response to the second question that has been asked, firstly, sociologists believe that gender and sex do not always align. There are different types of genders. Firstly, there is cisgender. Cisgender describes people whose biological body they were born with into matches their personal gender identities. In short, this simply means that if one is born a female or a man, their body will respond with the characteristic that their body have and prove that he or she is a male or a female. For example, a female is expected to have breasts and a male is expected to have the flat chest with no breast. In that way, that person matches with their body and their personal gender identities. However, in some cases, you find that one is transgender, meaning that their gender do not align with their gender identities. That goes the long way because you find people going an extra mile trying to change their dress code, their behavior, and the way they view things. Transgender people may undergo hormone therapy to facilitate this process, but not all transgender people will undertake a surgery. For example, in the famous television program, we find one of the actors undergo a surgery so that he can change his hormone to be of a girl because he's transgender. Then there is intersexuality, which describes variations on sex definitions related to confusing genitalia, gonads, sex organs, chromosomes, or hormones. Transgender and intersexuality are gender categories, not sexuality. Transgender and intersexual people have varied sexual practices, attractions, and identity, as do cisgender people. People can also choose to be genderqueer by either drawing on several gender positions or otherwise not identifying with any specific gender. That is called a non-binary. Or they may choose to move across different genders, and that is called a gender fluid. Or they may reject categories altogether. The third gender is often used by social scientists to describe cultures that accept non-binary gender positions. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I would like to welcome Zandi and Ayanda, who will be taking conflict theory. I would like to pose the first question to Zandi and the second question to Ayanda. What is the view of functionalists on gender, and can you give us any examples on the functionalist view on gender?
Thank you, Makolo. The functionalist theory is about stability and solidarity within the society, which is believed to be influenced by the contribution of each part of the society. Each part of the society, meaning everyone in the society. Whether you are young or old, whether you are a female or a male, you have a role to play and to fulfill, and that has to be done equally within the society. Looking at gender and the functionalist theory, the theory does not prioritize each gender as being important, but it suggests that gender roles exist to limit the abilities of people within the society, such as an example of women not being able to be kings or chiefs. That limits the ability of a woman to showcase her abilities within the society. The theory further elaborates that functioning have to be done to be stable for everyone within the society, and does not specify on gender roles in order for solidarity or stability, but it looks at everyone within the society and the roles that every person plays within the society. Integration is important in the theory, as it states that it shapes the society. The social structures are the ones that shape the society. Structures such as the culture, churches, schools, and families, which is believed that they are the ones giving rules, beliefs, and norms within the society. Thank you. My fellow colleagues, Ayanda, will further elaborate on the functionalist theory.
Thank you. I will further elaborate on functionalism. Functionalism addresses society as a whole in terms of the function of its constituent elements, namely norms, customs, traditions, and institutions. The functionalists suggest that gender inequality exists as an efficient way of creating the division of labor. They believe that division of labor and gender differentiation is functional for the society, in a sense that it contributes to order and stability. The examples of this would be the roles that are assigned to women are linked to the home. They are expected to stay at home, do household duties, and take care of the husband and the children, while men are expected to work outside home and be breadwinners. The functionalists suggest that women and men should be socialized differently, in different ways that will help them to assume their gender roles as adults. Men should be socialized to develop rational and competitiveness traits that will help them in the labor force, while women must be socialized to develop emotional responsiveness and sensitivity, which will enable them to take care of the children. Thank you.
Thank you, Ayanda. Next up, I would like to call Tembelihle and Manoguza, who will be discussing about the conflict theorist. I would like to pose the first question to you, Tembelihle, and the second one to Manoguza. The first question is, what are the views of conflict theorists on gender? The second one, any examples on conflict theorists?
Thank you, Noxolo, for the opportunity. According to conflict theory, society is defined by a struggle for dominance among social groups that are competing over limited resources. In the context of gender, conflict theories argues that gender is best understood as men trying to maintain power and privilege to the detriment of women. Therefore, men can be seen as the dominant group and women as the subordinate group. Conflict theorists, they further raise the point that men as the dominant gender, they subordinate women in order to maintain power and privilege in the society. For example, where women are seen as a submissive, while men are seen as dominant and breadwinners. Conflict theorists, they also look at the structure of the family. Conflict theorists argues that in the structure of the family, women has less power in the family because they depend on men for attainment of wages, and they suggest that if women can be wages earners, they can gain power in the family structure and create more democratic. I will let Sando to continue with examples according to the conflict theorist view on gender.
Thank you, Tembelihle. Response to the second question. Conflict theory focuses on how gender, assumption, and biases lead to the empowerment of men, oppression of women, and the structural inequalities of women relative to a man. The sociologists see gender power dynamic as it builds into the social structure and also manifests throughout all aspects of a patriarchal society. For example, from this viewpoint, wage inequalities between men and women results from a man's historical power to value women's work and benefit as a group from the service that women's labor provide. Conflict theory asserts that social problems occur when dominant groups mistreat subordinate ones, and also advocates for the balance of power between gender. Frederick Jean compared the family structure to the relationship between middle class and working class, suggesting that women had less power than men and in the household because they were dependent on them for wages. Another example that portrays inequalities in gender in Department of Labor is an unfair of distribution of work position. For instance, in most companies, you find that the executive members are mostly dominated by men. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Lastly, we would like to call Ngogo and Ketutula, who will be discussing the critics on views of gender. The first question is for you, Ngogo. Can you please give us any critics based on the functionalist view? And to you, Ketutula, please also give us any critics based on the conflict theorist.
Good people, please welcome my greeting, and I also thank the host to allow me to engage based on critiques of functionalism theory on gender. One of the critics stated there is no harmony and stability. Actually, that is impossible because in society people have different ideas. So let me outline the examples based on South African politics. In our parliament, normally there is a chaos whereby the ruling party, African National Congress, state that the country should be based on capitalism, whereby private investors are being allowed, while opposition parties such as EFF, Economic Freedom Fighters, state that there must be a state ownership whereby all companies are being owned by the state. So there is a diversity of opinion, which is the valid evidence which prove that there is no harmony and stability in our society. Moreover, other critiques are based on gender roles. The actual fact is that gender roles are not operating in our society, or are not relevant, because, for instance, according to my own experience, when I was doing teaching practice in Pato High School, the SMT decided to say boys should sweep after school, whereby that was applied for girls. So boys used to refuse that they don't do that because it is for girls. So that resulted to a conflict whereby there was a diversity of opinion in the school, which shows that factionalism is not relevant. Moreover, there is other critique which is based on human behavior. According to factionalist idea, it is stated people should behave based on gender, but the truth of the matter is that there is transgender, whereby people are changing their sex, and that become a problematic because they don't stick on their human behavior. Women do not do what is expected, and boys do not do what is expected as well. Moreover, let me speak about the dress style. Some women used to dress trousers which was regarded for men. So that shows that functionalism is impossible. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ngogo, for giving me the opportunity to critique the conflict theory. In critiquing the conflict theory, is that it tends to dismiss the agreements between wives and husbands in terms of task allocation. For example, in the family, the husband and the wife agreed upon the husband supporting the family financially and the wife doing all the cooking and cleaning, etc. If the woman is not at home, maybe one day, so the family will not eat the whole day, and it's also maintained the idea that men as a group are intentionally organized to keep women in subordinate positions. For instance, if maybe my culture does not allow women to work, if I get married to a wife that is maybe well educated, and that will subordinate her because the education she has will be wasteful. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to thank all the group members for such wonderful participation. Unfortunately, we've come to the end of our presentation. Thank you.